Hey, I'm the Derp Developer, and this is episode 3 of our Arma development series. In this episode, we are going to be going into the Arma 3 editor, and I'm going to cover the absolute basics. I'll do a quick rundown on the editor tools and features, and then I'll show you how to get a unit placed down, make it playable, and that's about it for this video. So yeah, let's get right into it. If you're on the Apex expansion, you'll have this fancy little menu here. You can go into single player and editor, or you can hit this button here. I'm going to do that. If you're not, if you don't have Apex, I believe you might still have the traditional Arma 3 menu. In that case, you'd hit play and then editor, if I'm remembering it correctly. I'm just going to go onto the virtual reality map because it is easier to load for now. We'll work with the other maps later. Right off the bat, as soon as we get in, if you use your right mouse button, hold it down and move your mouse around, you can look around at all the vast grayness. WASD to move your camera. Q goes up, Z goes down. E will open and close your entities and location pane. R will open and close your assets and history pane. Here in the assets pane, we have objects, which is stuff like the different units that you can place down, vehicles, all that stuff. They go through the different factions, and they have empty objects as well, or props as they're referred to in the editor, stuff like signs, structures, furniture, stuff like that. Next, we have our compositions, which are just pre-built groups, like squads and everything, just to save time. Next, we have our triggers. I'm triggered. This is for more scripting related stuff. This is for detecting certain conditions and making stuff happen. We'll definitely be getting into that later. Then we have waypoints for setting waypoints for all the units and vehicles and telling them what to do and all that. And then we have our systems or modules, which are, again, scripting related stuff, and they're very helpful. They help take care of a lot of other stuff without us having to manually write scripts for it. Again, we'll get into that later on. Under the systems, we also have the logic entities, which again, for more scripting related stuff. And then we have markers, and that changes you to your map. This is the whitest map I've ever seen. Hey look, there's water over here. Who would have thought? It's awesome. Anyway, the way I just did that, by the way, is if you go anywhere on your map and you click down with your middle button, or middle mouse button, or the mouse wheel, it will move the camera to that location. Very, very helpful for getting to certain areas fast. Okay. Up here we have some different menus that have different settings and tools. I would like you to explore that kind of on your own. Pretty self-explanatory what everything does. And if it's something that you're not sure about, just click it, see what happens. Nothing, it's not going to hurt. You know, it's just a blank mission. You know, this is stuff that we're going to kind of go over, and as we come across it in our journey here, I'll explain it more in detail as we use each thing. So kind of explore with that. A quick rundown of the toolbar up here. We have a new, open, save, and publish to Steam workshop. Over here we have more object-related tools. Our translation widget, which is just gives us the different axes we can rotate or move an object on. We have that for move, translation, rotation, and scaling. For the area widget, I'm going to be honest, never used it, not entirely sure what it does, but I'm sure it's useful in some way, shape, or form. Next we have our toggle widget coordinate space. This toggles between global or local coordinate space. We have our vertical mode, which just means that if you move along a surface with a unit, if you're dragging a unit along the surface, it will stick to the surface and go over hills and bumps and stuff as you do that. If you turn it off, it'll just move straight through the terrain. It will totally ignore whether it moves up or down. It'll just move straight through, I think. I've never really turned it off and tried to move an object, but that's the best thing I can think of. Just leave it on, okay? Just leave it on. Another cool tool is the surface snapping. This is the on position, and that just decides whether or not a unit will snap to the surface. When it gets close enough, it will snap to the ground. Here we have our translation grid. We can change the distance. This is how much your unit will snap when you're moving it along, like in a straight line. It will stick to increments based on the distance here. So 1 meter, when you drag it, the unit will snap to 1 meter increments as you're moving it. Same tool for rotation and for scaling. Next we have Intel, which when we open that, it opens up the environment settings, which we can also access via the attributes menu and environment or Control I. This lets you control stuff such as date, time, weather, a whole bunch of neat little settings in here. Again, we'll get to it. I don't want to spend too much time rambling about it. Then we have our map, which you can actually toggle on and off with M. Here's toggle flashlight. Now, I'm going to be honest. Oh, I'm pressing Q by accident. Can't tell. I've never really used it too much. I guess we'll figure it out when I actually place a unit down or something. Don't know if it's a flashlight for the actual editor camera or if it's a flashlight for your unit. I'm going to assume the latter, but we'll find out later. Okay? And then this toggles our vision mode, or you can hit N to do the same thing. Night vision, thermals, and regular mode. And you can see that once I place down a unit. We go to our objects heading or section. Let's go into NATO and men. It's raining men. Hallelujah. Anyway, competitor, why not? You can left click once to select him. Move out here, left click again to place him. Sometimes the editor will hang for a second while it places the unit. That only happens on the very first placed unit, at least on my machine. Sometimes it's hit or miss. Another way you can place a unit is by clicking and dragging out and then releasing, and that'll place a unit as well. This little blue line here means that these two units are grouped together. So this would be the group leader, and this would be one of his subordinates. And this red ring around the blue unit icon signifies that that is the player. So if I were to start this in single player, it would put me in this unit automatically. And you can change that by right-clicking on the unit. You can go to Attributes, and you can uncheck that. And now we also have Playable, which will give it a purple ring, which means that if we were to be playing in multiplayer, this unit slot would be available to select in the multiplayer lobby. So, and we'll get more into that later, but for now I'm just going to Control Z to undo it, so now he's back to the player. Those keyboard commands do work. Control Z to undo, Control X to cut, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Most of the Windows editing shortcuts work the same in the editor. If you also need to go back, we have this history tab on our assets pane here, or whatever pane this is. I'm not sure what to call it, but we have a history, and you can click on it and go to any action that you need. So, here we created the object, and we'll go from there instead of having that other guy out there. Okay, so now this unit is the player. We will start as the player. If I hit play in scenario, we will load into the map, and now I am controlling this unit, and we are doing stuff. Yay! We are doing stuff. Yay! And then we go to return to Eden editor. I have some previous code in that debug box. Debug box apparently is a thing. Now I'll show you how to do the that playable thing. I'll demonstrate that real quick. We'll just get a composition out here, air defense team. Why the heck not? And now we have all these units out here, but they're not playable. These will just be AI. If I go into play and select play in multiplayer, it's going to prompt me to create a server. I'm just going to create a LAN server, it doesn't matter. hit OK, and it drops us right into the multiplayer lobby. But there's only that one slot, and that's because we didn't make those other guys playable. And we can enable or disable the AI. I'll show you how to turn that off later as well. But now, let's move this guy over here because we can do this. You weren't able to do this before in the old 2D editor, and it makes me so fuzzy inside that we can do this. But if we select a bunch of units, we can right-click and actually, you know what? Let's go in here. This is the entities pane. I forgot to go over this. This displays every unit and group, every unit and which group they're in the entire scene. So let's just select the entire group by clicking on it. We can right-click. We can go to attributes, and now we can edit these attributes for every unit that's selected. So now we check the playable box under object control, hit OK, and now these units are all playable. We go back into multiplayer, and they're there now for other players to play, or for the AI to control if you leave this on. Okay? So that is how you create playable slots and units. I've showed you what the player is for single player. Showed you how to test it in multiplayer. It's all very super simple stuff. Again, come up here and play with these. See what stuff does. Just click stuff. Nothing's going to break because it's within the game. It's not like you're just randomly clicking stuff on your main operating system. So go ahead, mess around with that. Before I leave you, though, I still need to show you how to save your mission and where it gets saved to. So you save your mission by clicking the Save button, or the floppy disk, and now this scenario is saved. It's saved into temp mission mp.vr, and that's what happens if you don't save the mission before you go into testing. It creates the mission as a temp mission, and we'll save it into that folder. But we can easily rename this by going Scenario, Save As, or Control-Shift-S, and let's save it as let's save it as a multiplayer mission for now. We say, never mind. Oh, failed attempts, lol. So we're gonna put it in missions. When you save it to the missions folder, that's a single player mission. And once you know it, the MP missions is the multiplayer missions. Ta-da! So we're going to save it into missions. And down here is where we name it, just like you're saving a regular file. Tut mission success! Because this time we're succeeding, but we can't put those symbols. Below that is binarize the scenario file, and just like the tooltip states, the SQM file, or aka the mission file, will be binarized. Process saves loading time but makes the file uneditable in a text editor. Now, how often you're going to be needing to manually edit the mission.sqm file, it's very, very rare that you're going to have to, but I like to leave this unchecked just in case something happens that I need to get in there and fix something. It's happened. It's very rare, but it's happened. So, okay. And then we hit save. And now the scenario is saved. Now, where do these files go? Do they just go into magic la-la land? The answer is yes. No. The answer is no. So we're going to go into our file explorer. Hey, look! And we're going to go into My Documents. And we're going to go into Arma 3 Other Profiles. Your profile name. Missions. And there it is. Tut mission success.vr, because we're successful. Yeah, let me delete this. And delete that. And delete that. Okay? And now inside the mission folder, we have our mission.sqm file. And that's it. That's the only file that gets created when you save your new mission. It's up to us to create the other stuff like init.sqf and description.ext. All things we'll cover in later videos. But that is where your mission files are located. That's where you're going to find them when you want to start manipulating them. Okay? And I believe that about sums it up. I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. In the next video, we're going to actually create our very first mission. So exciting. I'm so hyped for this. I don't know if you guys are getting excited for this, but I'm definitely getting pretty excited for this. All right. So, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more, please like and please subscribe. If you didn't like the video, please dislike it and then explain in the comments why you didn't like it, and I will do my best to make it better in the next one. Okay? Love you guys, and I will see you in the next video.